Hello and welcome to the Ethanol Producer Magazine podcast. I'm your guest host, Anna Simet, and we're here live on the trade show floor at the Fuel Ethanol Workshop and Expo in Omaha. And I am here with Russell Lee and Dave Lucignolo with Tranter. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
How about we start with having you guys tell us a little bit about Tranter and what you do?
Okay. I'll start off. Tranter is a plate heat exchanger company based in Houston, Texas. We manufacture gasketed plate heat exchangers, widely used in the ethanol industry. We also manufacture welded plate heat exchangers, very similar, they just don't have gaskets. Two styles. We make a shell and plate welded plate heat exchanger. Our brand name is Supermax. That one goes to about 1,000 degrees F, 1,000 PSI. So it exceeds some of the limitations that gaskets would cause. Then we make a block heat exchanger called our brand name Novus Block, which is like the Supermax, all welded, no gaskets. The difference is you can remove the outer panels and physically clean the plates if you need to do it. So it can't quite go as high pressure or temperature as a Supermax, but it gets the job done when gaskets preclude you from using a gasketed PHE. We've been in business since 1932.
Oh,
so
wow.
We've been around for just
Long
over
time.
90 years. We've been doing plate heat exchangers since the 70s.
Yep.
And we've been very strong in ethanol since the beginning. In the earliest stages, as the first ethanol plants were going up, everybody was using Tranter. We had maybe 80% of the plants out there use Tranter. Now it's closer to, it's just over 50% still have Tranter heat exchangers. So we've been doing ethanol for a very long time. I'm the director of aftermarket services for Tranter, so that's for North America. And Russell?
I'm the parts and service regional manager for the Plains.
So Russell Key does ethanol only. So that's, even though there's obviously other than ethanol in North America, Russell and his partner Quinn Carney are my two ethanol gurus. That's all they do. They focus on that. So that's where their expertise lies and all their relationships.
Very good. So we heard that Tranter shut down its factory in Wichita Falls. Does the company still intend to maintain a presence in North America?
Well, there's the elephant in the room right there.
We'll just start with it.
Yeah, start with that. Short answer is yes. I can't say it loud enough or this microphone might burst, but yes. Tranter is a global company, of course, with factories all over the world, but we are first and foremost an American company. We're based out of Houston, Texas. That's our headquarters. CEO, CFO, all of them are based there. So we are an American company. But that's still a fair question. And I'll tell you why. Because back in 2020, just about the time that the pandemic started, the company took a decision to shut down the plant in Wichita Falls and to shut down our service center in Houston and stand up a new factory in Houston, which also incorporated the service center. That's a big thing. There's closing down a factory is no small thing, and closing down a service center also. And standing up a new factory, that's a big deal.
Yes.
So everything was tightly scheduled. We're locked in by contracts and leases to move at a certain pace. And the factory in Wichita Falls did shut down. We discontinued what had been kind of a flagship line, the plate coil brand. Customers will recognize that. And we began the process to move. And so same thing at the service center. Shut that down to start the new one. But the problem is that the new factory, things just went wrong from the beginning in terms of setting that up. So around March of 22, the factory in Wichita Falls was essentially shut down, no more production. The service center in Houston was, the water tanks had all been decommissioned, no more work being done there. But the new service center ran into problem after problem after problem. Some of it we could have planned better. A lot of it was just bad luck with the pandemic and the supply chain crisis that ensued. It was the worst time to try to start up a new plant.
All right.
So we had a period of months there where say about March of last year, the factory was just an empty floor. We were still moving to get things done. The core of our business is parts.
Yeah.
Even for making new units, you need parts coming in, feeding that assembly floor, and you need parts going out to the service centers. And we have 5 service centers across North America. They need parts. That shop in Farmersville, for example, that's our main ethanol service center. It's right in the middle of ethanol country. That shop is the largest shop in North America by volume, and they're used to getting regular shipments of parts, once a week at least, and sometimes more.
Okay.
Well, there was a couple of months there where they got no shipments.
Wow.
So the backlog was building up. We put ourselves in a very bad position, and by extension, our customers and our reps. Bad spot to be in.
Yeah.
And that's when the questions started to come up. Who are you, and what have you done with Tranter? And then rumors started to fly that maybe we weren't even going to be in the United States.
Yeah.
So that's the bad news.
Right. Okay.
The good news is that was 2022.
Yes.
We're past that. The good news is that service or that factory in Houston is up and running fully. At the heart of that factory is a distribution center, fully stocked with tens of thousands of plates, tens of thousands of gaskets. Parts are moving into the assembly center, out to the service centers. Lead time for a new unit is back to as good or better than it was before the move.
That's great.
So we're producing new units in 8 to 10 weeks and even faster on some of the smaller standard units. So we're in a lot better position than we were. Let's let the rumors die. Tranter's here. We're back better. We're back stronger. And we're ready to serve our customers the way they deserve to be served.
That's awesome to hear. So why not move into the good stuff? How about let's talk about plate heat exchanger design innovations. Are there any new ones that you can share with us?
Sure. That process has continued unabated even while we were going through the difficulties. One of the big ones is the introduction of Tranter's new GF206. Ethanol customers would be familiar with the GF187. That's a wide gap heat exchanger designed to pass beer mash through it or really anything with a high solids load like that. It has an 8-inch port. It's the workhorse of the industry, really. It's tens of thousands of plates out there, I would say. The problem is that as ethanol plants have grown and tried to increase their throughput and get larger, that 8-inch port was getting maxed out.
Okay.
So the GF206 is a new wide gap heat exchanger with a 12-inch port. So it's wider, it has to be to accommodate the 12-inch nozzles, and it allows the customers to increase that throughput to levels higher than we could ever do with the 187. And it is becoming quite popular. We're working on a couple of projects right now with some of the engineering firms that are here at the show for various ethanol plants to get their fermenters or their mash coolers upgraded to that GF206. And heat transfer wise, it's a big improvement. By having the larger port, we're able to stuff more into that heat exchanger and get the pressure drop into the channels instead of in the port. That's where the heat transfer is taking place, and that's why that's been such a big deal for us. That's not the only plate we've innovated. There's also the GT series. Now this is not a wide gap heat exchanger, but it is designed for a high heat transfer, low pressure drop. We're talking less than 2-degree approaches between the hot and cold side. So that series continues to expand. We're now out with the GT 420, which has 20-inch ports. So it's made for super large flows. But that series goes down all the way as small as 6 inches. So that's also been a big innovation for us.
Super interesting. So most ethanol plants are using Tranter plate heat exchangers. What about the ones that don't? And is Tranter involved with any of those plants?
Oh, absolutely. We work on non-Tranter heat exchangers. I tell you that 15 to 20% of the service work that we do is on something other than a Tranter heat exchanger.
Wow.
So our service crews are quite familiar with all the brands out there. It doesn't matter the brand. It still has plates, it still has gaskets, and we're able to perform service on that and provide really the full suite of offerings that we offer for Tranter heat exchangers. I'm talking about parts, about on-site cleaning or refurbishment or swapping out of plate packs, and in-shop service as well. So we have a plate pack from a non-Tranter brand, we'll perform the same refurbishment that we would do on a Tranter heat exchanger. And it's not just about the parts, too. We are an OEM. Even if we didn't make the plates, our company still has the engineering chops to be able to assist those customers with doing back calculations on their current process and help them make decisions about whether they have the right plate configuration or whether they have the right number of plates and what might be the impact of changing that configuration or adding or subtracting plates or even adding more passes to the heat exchanger. We do that all the time. It's what we feel like differentiates us from those people out there who provide services, but they're not OEMs. So there are some advantages to letting an OEM service your heat exchanger, even if it's not the OEM who pressed the plates.
Right.
So, yes.
Okay. So let's kind of stay on that track of, assisting your customers. What is Tranter doing to help reduce the cost of plate heat exchanger maintenance?
Well, that's a good question. There is a lot of maintenance, especially in the ethanol world. A lot of maintenance that's required. You're constantly working on those things, and it can get expensive. We recognize that. So we have a couple of programs that we have in place. One of them is the service contract. We'd say we have about a dozen.
Yeah, there's probably anywhere from currently 8 to 12 plants that we have under service contracts at this time.
Right. And a service contract, it starts with an audit. So that means we go to the plant and if we don't already have it, we'll have a list of every heat exchanger that they have on site.
Okay.
So we'll take that list and we'll work with the customer, like what's the maintenance going to look like over the next year or the next 2 years. So we'll put it all in the service contract. So and they can not only put the service, and I mean it can be in-shop service, it can be on-site service, anything. Honestly, we've even allowed some customers to throw new heat exchangers on their service contracts. So if you want a replacement heat exchanger, we can put it on there. And then we lay it out, and it can be either a 1-year or a 2-year contract.
Okay.
We get some advantages from that, obviously. We lock down the business, which of course we love. But not only that, and perhaps more importantly, it gives us the ability to pre-plan. So I can tell you, for the service contract customers we have, I know exactly what's coming in, when it's coming in. I can have the resources in place, and I can arrange my shop workload around that. So for that advantage, we're going to give the customer back some of that advantage. There'll be a reduced price. So we are cutting the cost. Just straight up discount because we're sharing the advantage we get in the ability to pre-plan like that. And not only that, it allows them to pay for the contract over time. So there is a down payment. It's usually about 15%. And then they'll pay for the contract either monthly or quarterly or semi-annually, whatever makes the most sense for them. So in that way, their maintenance budget is fixed. It's easy for them. It's easier to forecast. There's no surprises.
Right.
We also include, if there are surprises, some emergency happens, then whatever costs or services they require, they get to keep that reduced price that we're charging for everything else. That's just part of the benefit that they get.
Most plants only have a certain maintenance budget every year anyway that they're allowed. And so this allows them to basically plan that out. I mean, if you're only going to spend so much money on a certain item, then that really helps to plan out other maybe issues or equipment they need to purchase later on down the road.
Right, that makes sense.
It's been really popular. So much so that we've actually started to expand that beyond the ethanol. Ethanol is somewhat tailor-made for that because an ethanol plant has a lot of heat exchangers in it. And so service contract makes a lot of sense, but even in other industries, we're doing that now. We have another program that we offer to our ethanol customers. It's called the Inventory Exchange Program. This is unique. We keep a stack, thousands of heat exchanger plates in our service center in Farmersville. For customers who are participating in that IEP or Inventory Exchange Program, if they need a plate pack, they let us know. We'll pull plates from that stack, and they may be used plates. We'll gasket them up, we'll make their plate pack, send it to them, they can swap it out, and we do it fast. We got the plates ready to go. so it doesn't take any time.
Right.
They will swap it out, or we'll swap it out for them with the dirty plate pack that's currently installed, send us back those plates. We will clean them, we'll perform die check inspections to make sure there's no holes in there, and then we put them back in the stack. And the stack just constantly circulates like that.
And that is for the GFP 187 plate that we do that for. That's the one plate, which is the main plate in the ethanol industry. So.
There's enough of them out there that this works. The program works. So that's what we do for them. Of course, they pay a much reduced price for the plate. They don't have to buy a new plate pack.
Right.
Because it is a used plate, and we still warranty that plate, 90-day warranty on the used plates. So if it's going to have a problem, it'll have a problem then. And of course, they've all been die checked before they go back into the stack. If a plate should fail the die check when they send it back to us, we will ask them to buy a new plate to keep the stack going. So then they would have to pay for a replacement plate.
Okay.
So it saves them money. It helps speed things up so they're not waiting very long for them. And it's a very popular program.
Really interesting. Well, I'm at the end of my questions. Russell or Dave, is there anything else you want to add about Tranter?
Well, I just want to make sure that everyone is aware that the woes that plagued us in 22 are gone in 2023. The company that you've come to expect Tranter to be is back and back better. That's an important message. We're still firmly focused on ethanol and biofuels, in touch with what's happening in this industry and with our customers in particular. We're still a platinum sponsor here at the Fuse Show. So we're grateful for the patience that they've all shown, and we intend to pay it back as time goes forward with our new and improved version of ourselves.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks for supporting the Few. Really appreciate it. Been really interesting. Thanks so much, Russell and Dave, for coming on the podcast and telling us more about Tranter and giving an update.
You're welcome. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Yep. And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this podcast. Until next time.